Yeah. Okay. At this moment, we're going to sing the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. You will find it on the back of your program. So can you please rise? And we're going to sing it.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, North Farmington Choir Ensemble and Director, Mr. Jason DeBant. Good evening. My name is Alyssa Murphy, and I'm a senior at North Farmington High School. I am the captain of the varsity volleyball team, a member of the varsity track team, National Honor Society, senior board secretary, district diversity committee member, and a member of Student Senate. I plan to attend Michigan State University next fall.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Mathis Nelson, and I am a junior at North Farmington High School. I'm a member of National Honor Society, varsity wrestling team, varsity football team, varsity track team, student senate, junior board, diversity committee, and Model UN. I plan to attend the University of Michigan after I graduate from high school next year. Welcome to the 4th Annual Farmington Public Schools Black History Program. Tonight you will see the beauty and the diversity of our school district as students from kindergarten through 12th grade help us celebrate, culminate Black History Month 2020.
Dr. Aaron Johnson, the Associate Superintendent of Farmington Public Schools, would like to bring his greetings to all of the attendees and performers. Following Dr. Johnson, please welcome the principal of North Farmington High School, who would like to extend his greetings on behalf of the school.
Good evening. I'll be brief and let someone far more important than I take the stage. Just want to take a brief moment to welcome you here this evening. It's so important that we continue to celebrate Black history, because Black history is American history, and it's very important that we continue to teach our children, teach our students in our schools the importance and the impact that people of African descent have had on this nation. I'm here representing one of 3 central office administrators who are here tonight, and I'm not sure if our board of education is in session, and so if you have not seen any board members, it's because they are actually having a board meeting right now, and I'm representing the superintendent. So I just want to quickly give thanks to Mrs. Corbett, who actually has a 9-to-5 day job, and she almost single-handedly, if not single-handedly, put this program together every year. And if I could put you on the spot, Mrs. Corbett. Yeah. She's acknowledging that there was some help, but for this type of program to continue, we need to have the support of our other staff members, our community members, and parents, because Ms. Corbett can't continue to take this challenge on by herself. While she does it out of the goodness of her heart and the passion for helping our students and our community learn about Black history, we also want to see it continue and not overburden her. So we're going to put out the call right here and now to ask that you be a part of helping to make sure that this continues on in the future. So welcome, enjoy. Thank you for all of our students who are participating tonight, and we hope you enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for the nice welcome. I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit. Without Dr. Johnson, a lot of our work to make sure that every student here in the district has an opportunity to succeed would really struggle. He is a hero and a champion of making sure that each student in the district has the ability, the opportunity, and the resources to make sure that they can succeed here. So very much thanks to you, Dr. Johnson. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to North Farmington's 4th Annual Black History Celebration. I want to extend a special welcome to representatives and students from Gill Elementary, Wood Creek Elementary, Warner Middle School, East Middle School, Farmington High School, North Farmington High School, the Farmington African American Parent Network, and all of the community members who've helped to make tonight possible. And while she is humble, I'm going to double down on Dr. Johnson's special thank you to Ms. Corbett. She really devoted an immense amount of time and energy to put in this labor of love that is tonight's celebration. And I would also like to, I'd be remiss to not also mention that Kathy Smith, one of our assistant superintendents, and Jackie McDougall, who is our executive director of special education services, are both here tonight with us, and I want to thank them for being here as well. From a personal note, I'm very grateful to everyone who contributed to tonight's celebration of the beauty, the struggle, and the progress in Black history and culture in America. As a former social studies teacher and philosophy major, I've always seen our imperfect union on a journey toward the ideal laid out in the promise of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but a more inclusive ideal that has room for all human beings. I believe that America ebbs and flows on a spectrum between the reality of where it is in its journey, sometimes beautiful and unfortunately sometimes ugly, toward the ideality it strives for, where all human beings are seen as being created equal, endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and where we're judged by the quality and content of our character and contributions, rather than our physical differences. It's celebrations like tonight, where we come together to honor the blood, sweat, tears, and joy of the African American experience, and celebrate the incredible and indelible impact, progress, and contributions of African American people to this nation that helps propel us towards the ideal of a more just, more inclusive, more humane, and more perfect union of what we together can make this nation. So I want to close, again, by thanking each of you for coming to tonight's wonderful celebration, but also echoing Dr. Johnson's invitation. We need to work together to continue to enrich and grow nights like this. And we definitely need help from the community, not just to pull it off, but this is about us coming together and about us standing together and building something better and brighter and more humane. So thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson and Mr. Greenfield. Warm greetings. Composer, recording artist, conductor, and performer, Ronnie Lamar Page has a unique, energetic style that ranges from classical music to pop music. For more than 20 years, Mr. Page has touched countless audiences with his passion and artistic drive for music.
Growing up in Southfield, Michigan, Mr. Page began studying violin at age 10. Upon high school graduation, he was awarded a music scholarship to Michigan State University, where he subsequently earned both bachelor's and master's degrees in music education. Throughout his secondary school and collegiate career, Rodney also studied piano, developing into an accomplished pianist. As a violinist, Mr. Page has performed in the Midland Symphony Orchestra 7 years, Michigan State University Symphony Orchestra 4 years, Livingston Symphony Orchestra 1 year, and as a second violinist in the South Shore Symphony Orchestra in China.
Page has since turned his attention to providing entertainment services as a freelance musician and DJ, presenting unique, innovative shows. Mr. Page was the official performing DJ for the Detroit Pistons and has performed as a violinist during the halftime shows for the New Orleans Pelicans. Mr. Page is also a motivational speaker. We look forward to his performance this evening.
Good evening. Let me just first off say it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I feel like I'm coming home anytime I come back to Metro Detroit. Before I begin my performance this evening, I would just like to say I encourage all of you all to continue to push forward for equal rights. We have so much as Black people that we've accomplished, yet we have so much that we still need to do. And I think we need creative thought to solve a lot of the solutions. So the musical performance that I'm gonna do today is gonna bridge a little bit of the old with the new and putting the violin with DJing. So it's kind of outside of the box. So So again, thank you for having me here, and I hope you enjoy my performance for you this evening.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Page, for that thoroughly entertaining performance. The members of Gill Elementary School's Culture Club would like to share with you the meaning of Black History Month to them. They have prepared a video presentation to share their perspectives.
Immediately following the video presentation, 6th grader J.C. Murdoch and 7th grader Layla Jones would like to share their winning essays with you. They both attend East Middle School and won the essay contest entitled I Am the Dream for their grade. As winners, they both read their essays at East Middle School's Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. We are happy they were able to participate in this year's Black History program.
That was a speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963. We're working on it. Test 1. I have a dream. That was a speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963. When he said, "I have a dream," the meaning behind these spectacular words were, he has hope for the future. Well, Mr. King, I'd say we only met the glass half full. As citizens of the United States, it is our duty to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. By doing so, we are caring for one another, which just so happens to be one of our school's International Baccalaureate learner profiles. When African Americans finally had the opportunity to be as equal as a white man, millions of people saw this as a setback. Very few whites were accepting of the integration process. We are very fortunate to be able to have tons of different ethnicities in this very room. This is why people come to some of these schools, to find like-minded people with similar goals and aspirations. But not all humans are that sensible. Like my mom says, there are going to be some mean people in your life, and that's okay. They don't matter. There was this girl in my elementary school who was mocked at for her appearance, the way she talked, and the way she thought. No one would stand up for her. You have to remember, it's up to you and the choices you make as a U.S. citizen, whether you choose to be the person who lets someone fall or the person who willingly catches them. Not because your mom told you to, but because it's the right thing to do. The point is, you weren't sent here to waste air. You were sent here to live your very best life, and that includes taking a risk. If you take a risk to be kind and lend your heart out to just one person, you will make their day greater than it previously was. My older sister, Mona, told me a story of a girl who took her own life because no one showed her compassion. Not even walking on the streets, no one bothered to stop and take 2 seconds of their day to say hi. This shows how careless most of us are. If just one person cared for her, she would still be here. This is the future we now live in. If we keep acting careless, a whole lot more people will hurt. We need to think before we act, or those actions could scar many for life. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was saying we have to accept people for who they are and speak up to people who are just unkind. To conclude, if we are more understanding, then the dream he had is going to work. Our appearances can change, but it takes more to change an action. So are we now the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Yes, we are. But we could take a few more steps to surpass this dream, to fill the glass full. All we have to do is accept each other for who we are. Remember, you are you, and no one can change that. Thank you.
Hello. Whatever you are, be a good one. It's odd to quote Abraham Lincoln when I should be talking about Dr. King, but this is an idea Dr. King followed and he didn't even know it. However, to quote Dr. King himself, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as well as other noble civil rights leaders, helped gain the basic right of life for the oppressed people who were African American. 51 years since MLK's death, and although we have our rights, we are still an oppressed people. Dr. King changed a lot of things, though. He reformed the Jim Crow system that went after Black people. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I'm the dream because I continue to drive out the darkness with light and drive out the hate with love, even today. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. I'm the dream because I, the oppressed, whether you know it or not, continue to demand freedom from my oppressor. Our lives begin to change the day we become silent about the things that matter. I am the dream because I continue to talk about the things that matter and will never become silent. Dr. King worked wonders for the oppressed people. I think the most important thing to learn from him is that, even in hardships, you must always respond with peace. Malcolm X said, "We want freedom by any means necessary." Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were only alike in the fact that they both wanted their people to be delivered from oppression. Malcolm X had a 10-point program. Martin Luther King had the 10 Commandments. I'm the dream because I hope to become a spokesperson for Black women and work my own wonders. I'm the dream because I have and will always respond to hardships with peace. I'm the dream because I want my people to be treated as equally as any other people. In any colored person's life, someone will most likely say something racist to you. My first encounter was in the first grade. I was new to Farmington District. I was at recess sitting by myself, and this boy came over to me. Thought he was nice, but he called me the N-word. I was so young because I didn't know any better, but I repeated the word at my grandma's house and got in a lot of trouble. She told me that it was an offensive word. She told me all about the history of the race war between Black and white people. It was sad, but then I learned, the hard way, as a matter of fact, that this was life in my grandma's time, and sadly in all of ours, too. I'm the dream because my first friend in Farmington was in fact white. I'm the dream because while I've had more racist experiences since then, I will continue to stay open-minded. And I don't think that my friends should be blamed for what their ancestors did. Dr. King laid down the path for me to have white and Black friends alike. I'm now an IB learner in the Titan at East Middle School, but I will never forget that I'm the dream, and so are all of you. Thank you.
First, we would like to say sorry for our technical difficulties. The Culture Club will be presenting the video after intermission. And JC and Layla, you represented your school well. Thank you for those brilliant essays about why we are the dream. For our next three presentations, we have Kennedy Dunlap, Jayla Forrest, and Jade Rawlings. This audience is in for a treat as you witness these three North Farmington 11th graders.
Kennedy Dunlap is a junior at North Farmington High School. She is the daughter of playwright Angela Dunlap, who wrote Pride and Joy, a musical about Marvin Gaye. Kennedy has followed her mother's creative footsteps. She will share with you her own composition entitled A Message to Black Youth.
Jayla Forrest is only 16 years old, but she has the voice of a seasoned soul singer like Aretha Franklin, Jill Scott, or Adele. Jayla is a member of the Detroit Youth Choir. Her voice has taken her to America's Got Talent, to cities across the country and abroad. We are fortunate to have her right here in North Farmington High School. She will perform stand-up from the movie Harriet. Think about the courage and strength of Harriet Tubman as you listen to this young songstress.
Jade Rawlings has been taking dance for several years. She composed a contemporary ballet routine to the song Glory. The song was written by John Legend and Common for the movie Selma. Picture our heroes marching for our rights back in 1965. Our heroes, Dr. Martin Luther King, Congressman John Lewis, and Hosea Williams.
Hello. Dear Black youth, understand that you were born into a race that you are already 3 paces behind in. Dear Black youth, keep in mind that as you walk this world, you do so with a target on your back. Dear Black youth, remember that you will always have to fight for a seat at a table that some were born sitting at. But dear Black youth, never forget what an honor it is to be Black. That you descended from kings and queens, that the blood running through your body is royal. Dear Black youth, never forget just how strong you are because you were born into a war that in a perfect world you'd never be in. but you adjusted, just as our ancestors did, going from slavery to president. Doesn't that show you just how powerful Black excellence is? Doesn't that show you just how powerful you are? It is time for you to take your place. The heroes of our past have equipped us with everything that we need to become the leaders of our future. So soar with the bravery of the Tuskegee Airmen, speak with the power of Maya Angelou, dream with the passion of Martin Luther King Jr. So let us fight with the honor of those who have come before us. Rise up and be entrepreneurs like our ancestors on Black Wall Street, for we do not know defeat, only persistence. Because every time that we've been knocked down, we get back up, because we were born with the ability to turn no's into yeses, because for years we have made a way out of no way and will continue to do just that. Dear Black youth, know your worth. And when you figure it out, double it, triple it, quadruple it, because you are worth far more than you'll ever know. Dear Black youth, know that you are loved, that I love you, that we love you, that you are wanted, and more importantly, that you are needed. So let us use our gifts that we were given and go be great, because we descended from greatness. Thank you.
Good evening. Hello. Hello. Oh, good evening, everybody. I've been walking with my face turned to the sun, weight on my shoulders, bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Ooh. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm headed through muddy water, and I got a made of mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on my way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. Be hard to face 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I tried till stars fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling? Calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, do you hear freedom calling? Calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Oh, I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you. Oh.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, 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 oh. Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, the spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots be on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, oh, glory. Now the war is not over, victory isn't won, but we'll fight on to the finish, and then when it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory, oh.
Told you. Thank you, Kennedy, Jayla, and Jade.
Stepping is now a worldwide phenomenon practiced amongst people of all ages, from drill teams, churches, and high schools, to college fraternities, sororities, and more. In stepping, the body is used to make sounds through clapping, stomping, and spoken word. Stepping has had a long tradition in African and Black communities and at historically Black colleges and universities. Welcome North Farmington High School's step team as they pay tribute to the HBCU tradition.
Now, a brief intermission will take place after Ms. Pickens and the Wood Creek Equity Team explain the silent auction to you. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Weems, will speak after the intermission.
During intermission, stop by the tables of our vendors and concessions. Please note that all snacks and beverages must remain in the lobby. There is no drinking and or eating in our newly constructed auditorium. Thank you.
Check, 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 check. Check. All right, hello, my name is Monique Pickens, and I'm the 4th grade teacher at Wood Creek Elementary. Last year was my first year coming to the Black History program, and I was so excited about it that this year we had to bring our kiddos back to do as much as they could. And so we are here today we have an equity team at our school, and we're called the Equity Avengers. This is a picture of our last year group. This year is like twice as many. And today we have 3 of our 4th graders that will presenting what they created was our Civil Rights Freedom Movement recreated photographs. So when you came through the lobby, we were scurrying, trying to get all those things together so that after they finish presenting, you guys will get a chance to go and start our silent auction in the lobby in between here in the auditorium. Okay, so here we have Gabriella Chartareski. We have Javon Hall. And we have Hermela Sampson.
Here we have recreating freedom riders Hermela Sampson, Javon Hall, Wes Stewart, Austin Guillory, Gabby Cheteriski, Serenity Cooper, and McKaylin Smart. We're civil rights activists who rode interstate buses into the segregated southern United States in 1961 and subsequent years to challenge the non-enforcement of the United States Supreme.
Here we have Miera Alexander recreating Diana Ross as lead singer for the most successful female vocal group in pop music history. Diana Ross became world famous as a performer during the mid-1960s to fan the flames of her fame after becoming a solo act at the end of the decade and later received accolades as an actress in a number of star vehicles.
Here we have Zoe Pitt recreating Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a famous abolitionist who was renowned for her exploits in guiding her fellow slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad. She also served the Union Army during the Civil War as a scout and a spy.
Here we have Joelle Hall recreating Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker was an American-born French dancer and singer who symbolized the beauty of vitality of Black American culture, which took Paris by storm in the 1920s. She went on to become one of the most popular music hall entertainers in France.
Here we have Zaria Brooks recreating Misty Danielle Copeland. She was born September 10, 1982. She is an American ballet dancer for American Ballet Theater, ABC, one of the 3 leading classical ballet companies in the United States. On June 30th, 2015, Copeland became the first African American woman to be promoted to principal dance on ABT's 75-year history.
Here we have Alexandria Fortune recreating Bessie Coleman. Bessie Coleman was the first African American female to become a licensed pilot in 1921, defeating gender and racial prejudice. Then the 29-year-old became a symbol for millions of women of color at the time when African Americans were still battling segregation and fighting for equal rights across the country.
Here we have Lauren Powell recreating Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was a civil rights activist who refused to surrender her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus. Her defense sparked the Montgomery Boy Scout. The success launched nationwide efforts to end racial segregation of public facilities. Here we also have Corey Humphreys recreating Rosa Parks. Here we have Teresa Carrico reenacting Rosa Parks.
Here we have Alana Pickens recreating Ruby Nell Bridges. Born on September 8, 1954. Ruby Nell Bridges is an American civil rights activist. She was the first African American child to desegregate the all-white William Frantz Elementary School in Louisiana during the New Orleans school desegregation crisis on November 14, 1960. Here we also have Jasmine Hudson recreating Ruby Bridges. Here we also have Ariana Fletcher recreating Ruby Bridges.
Here we have Setsuki recreating Yuri Kochiyama. Yuri Kochiyama was an activist and a writer for her whole life, and she was influenced by her Japanese American family's entertainment. Kochiyama and her eldest son, 16-year-old Billy, were arrested along with hundreds of other people, mainly African Americans, during a protest in Brooklyn, New York in October of 1963.
Here we have Daisy Bates. Here we have Karina Gardner recreating Daisy Bates. Daisy Bates was an American civil rights activist, publisher, journalist, and a lecturer who played a leading role in the Little Rock integration crisis of 1957.
I just want to add something in on the last slide. Okay. On the last slide, her mother, which was Marari Gardner, she came in to do special photography for us for about the last 10 photos. So she gave up her free time to come in to help set up photo shoots. So I know she's in here somewhere. If you're wave at me. Okay. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate you.
Here we have my fourth grade teacher, Miss Pickens, recreating Dorothy Dean Dandridge. Dorothy Jean Dandridge was an American film and theater actress, singer, and dancer. She is one of the first black actresses to have a successful Hollywood career and the first to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance in the 1954 film Carmen Jones.
Here we have Colin Stokes recreating Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was an American athlete. He is the best remembered for his performance at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. He was the first American track and field athlete to win 4 gold medals at a single Olympic Games.
Here we have Kareem Istanbuli recreating President John F. Kennedy. In his speech, Kennedy called Americans to recognize civil rights as a moral cause to which all people need to contribute, and was as clear as the American Constitution. He conveyed how the proposed legislation would lead the nation to end discrimination against African Americans.
In the first picture, we have Darnasha Wills recreating Star Carter. Star Carter is constantly switching between two worlds: the poor, mostly black neighborhoods where she lives, and the wealthy, mostly white prep schools that she attends.
Here we have Thomas Mark Caleb Pickens IV recreating Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali converted to Islam and became a Muslim after 1961 and eventually took the name Muhammad Ali. He won the World Heavyweight Championship from Sonny Liston in a major upset at age 22 in 1964. Ali was a leading heavyweight boxer of the 20th century, and he remains the only 3 times lineal champion of that division.
Here we have Zoe Pitt recreating Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is an American lawyer, university administrator, and writer who is the First Lady of the United States from 2009 to 2017. She married the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, and she was the first African American First Lady of the United States.
Here we have Avery Angela Sandra recreating Joan Tremper. Joan Tremper went from being a sheltered white Southern to a bold civil rights activist and freedom rider. She had been arrested for sitting in a whites-only waiting room in Jackson, Mississippi, with her fellow freedom riders, some white like her, some African American. At age 20, she already had 2 years of experience being arrested and thrown in jail for her role in the civil rights movement. She even smiled faintly in her mugshot taken at the Hydes County Jail.
Here we have Javon Hall, Azuri Dennis, Darnasha Willis, Gabby Chederisky recreating desegregated schools. In 1954, in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, the U.S. Supreme Court effectively outlawed racial segregation in our school. King, when he articulated his dream where people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The bitter struggle to break down racial distinctions in educated lasts for decades, yet now universities are reintroducing segregation.
Throughout the first half of the 20th century, there were several efforts to combat school segregation, but few were successful. However, an unanimous 1954 decision in the Brown versus Board of Education, the United States Supreme Court ruled segregation in public schools unconstitutional. Here's an example of desegregation in restroom rules of public. This is Addison Hunter and Juliet Jodway.
Here we have Zoe Pitt recreating the character Amy Little Sugar Floyd Cooper from the children's book Freedom School. Yes.
Here we have London Bishop recreating Cynthia Dion Wesley, attending Yeoman High School. She belonged to the 16th Street Baptist Church, where she was a victim of the Street Baptist Church bombing that detonated on September 15, 1963.
Here we have Gavin Yee recreating Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was an African-American professional baseball player who broke Major League's baseball infamous color barrier. When he started at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947, until that time, professional ball players of color suited up for teams only in the Negro Leagues.
Here we have Corey Humphreys recreating Georgia Gilmore, which is the Montgomery cook, midwife, and activist whose secret kitchen fed the civil rights movement. When King and others held meetings of the Montgomery Improvement Association at the Holt Street Baptist Church, Gilmore was there selling fried chicken sandwiches and other foods to the African American men and women gathered there who pledged not to use the city's buses until they were desegregated. Gilmore poured those profits back into the movement, as John T. Edge recounts in his book, The Pot Liquor Papers, A Food History of the Modern South. Here we have Matthew Carrico reenacting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a leader of the civil rights movement.
Didn't they do a good job? You know, what's interesting is when you give kids something that they really want to learn about, they just take charge and it takes over. And when we first started this project, I didn't know for sure how they were going to go after it as hard as they did. And as soon as I mentioned it, my fourth graders, before I even mentioned it to our equity Avengers, they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. We're gonna start researching right now. And they wouldn't stop. So I'm like, guys, we have to stop. We have to do math. We have to do all these other things. But they wanted to learn so much about themselves. So this was an opportunity for them to have a chance to dig into their roots, to learn about all of our history, and to get a chance to present it to you guys. So at this time, we do have the photos that are going to start now. The silent auction, when you walk outside, there's 4 different sections on the walls. The papers are up against the wall if you would like to make a bid. All of them are starting at $20. The profits for the auction, some of the proceeds will go back to the students. Some of it will go towards our equity vendors, and then the last parts will also go back to this program to help support it for next year. So we encourage you all to get out there and take a look. Even if it's someone that you don't know, go ahead and outbid, put it on the paper, make them go for it. But it's a silent auction. There will be pens out there for you to grab. There'll be numbers on the photo, so look for the number on the photo, and then find the paper on the wall for you to write your name and write down what you're bidding, okay? Got it? All right, we hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you soon. Good job, guys. Excellent job.